Welcome to the Fractional Podcast, where we share real stories of operators raising capital and partnering with everyday investors to bring big ideas to life. I'm your host, Stella Hahn, and today we have the wonderful Alexis Morgan, who is absolutely crushing it. Young entrepreneur, but does not take away from all the accomplishments that she's done. Alexis has raised over $1 million on the Fractional platform and has just absolutely killed it in the game. Alexis, so glad that you're here and excited to have you share your story to the audience.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a really fun journey. I'm excited to be here. Let's get into it.
Amazing. Well, Alexis, I think your journey has just been so inspirational, even for me. I've seen you just take action every single time, be absolutely rewarded for it. So, how did you even get started in the space?
Oh, such a good question. I feel like a lot of us get started by getting exposure. And so for me, it was that same principle. I started at 17 years old. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, okay, real estate is it. I don't want to get a job. I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to do all these traditional things. And I started pouring all my time and my energy into learning about real estate. And like you said, taking action right after that. I learned very quickly the game, the business, how transactions work by getting knee deep into transactions, by door knocking, wholesaling, just doing deals. And I've continued to learn from there. I remember one of my first deals, I was in the trenches of real estate. So when I got started, I was wholesaling. I wasn't always lending. I wasn't always, giving people money and funding deals, but I was wholesaling so that I could understand the business. And when I first started, one of my most complex deals, I went up to this house, I door knocked. So these people were in foreclosure, and I had an understanding of, okay, why do they need to sell? What amount of money do they need to walk away? And I put a deal together, I structured it, and actually made a couple tens of thousands of dollars on that deal, which was fun. But it's been a journey, and it's been constantly learning, constantly picking up a course or a community, joining places where I can get mentorship. That's been the story that has led me to the success that I have today.
I love that. That is incredible. And for me, Alexis, you were actually one of the first people that got me into private money lending. So before
Yes.
that, I have been just buying real estate just from an equity perspective, and I kind of thought that was all there is. And then I met you, and I'm like, wow, we can be on the other side of the table. Like I didn't even know that. So how did you, make the transition and decide that, the focus should be on the lending part?
Oh, I love this question. Private money lending is such a powerful strategy within real estate. And the way that I got exposed to it was from my wholesale background. I was trading paper, making a couple grand on each transaction, but I was tired. It was always about the next deal. And so I was constantly looking for an avenue of real estate that didn't take so much repetitive effort that kind of compounded on itself. And so I just started interviewing people who were in real estate. I interviewed fix and flippers. I interviewed other wholesalers. I interviewed multifamily operators. I interviewed buy and hold. I remember I just was constantly talking to all these different people who had different perspectives on real estate. And one of them was a lender. And when I talked to fix and flippers, they always complained about their contractors and how their project didn't sell for what they wanted it to sell for, or how it went long. When I talked to buy and hold investors, they always complained about how their cash flow wasn't dependent, and how the $200 a month out of the property wasn't really worth the effort or the investment that they put into it. I talked to multifamily operators, and they told me that for the first 3 years, you're really just paying investors. Like, you make money in the long run, not today. But when I talked to the lenders, they always seemed to have the highest leverage. They could kick their feet up, they didn't have a lot of complaints, and their business seemed the easiest in terms of most return on time. And that's when I was like, okay, I want to understand how private money lending works. Hard money lending is a very similar industry where you can fund transactions and have that transaction that you funded pay dividends. The thing that I like the most about private money lending is, in my opinion, it has the highest leverage. And so I have the least amount of risk. I'm not the owner, right? I have the least amount of risk, but the highest amount of opportunity. If I'm in the first position, I'm getting paid before anyone else is getting paid on this transaction. So there's there's lots of aspects that I like about it, but the exposure came from really asking questions, getting curious about all these different perspectives of real estate. And the most beautiful thing about PML, private money lending, is every single deal needs funding. No matter how small or how big, that deal is gonna need someone to come in and lend on it or either finance it, etc. So the opportunities are just abundant. And that, I bring those opportunities to Fractional. I brought those opportunities to investors of mine. It's incredible. It's an incredible business to be in.
That's so brilliant. And the feedback that you heard when you were doing the research, I am like, I can relate to so many. I'm still, in some single family homes that I buy where it's just really for the appreciation game. And, every month when that rental payment comes in, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like
Like,
money at most, right? So totally
yes.
get that. I think that is incredible, which is why I've diversified my own portfolio a lot into private money lending. I think it's just more passive once you've done the underwriting and deployed that check, right? It's more passive, and usually as long as you've done your underwriting properly, then you don't really have any surprises later on. So I have really loved that, and definitely thank you for the opportunities where you brought me on as a partner through Fractional. Alexis, how much transaction volume have you done to date now?
Wow. It's unreal sometimes talking about it because it happens so quickly, and that's the beautiful thing about private money lending. When a borrower pays off of a loan, they're going to get their next opportunity. So you have that relationship forever. When an investor gets their money back, they want to redeploy. So over the last 2 years, I've deployed over $40 million in private money loans. That equates to maybe probably around 200 transactions, maybe 215 around there. But it's been like I said, it's been an incredible journey and accomplishment. And at the same time, I feel like I'm just getting started. There's so much more on the horizon. I mean, my main strategy up until this point has been focused on one single market, which was Atlanta, Georgia, one single strategy, which was fix and flip. And since the business has grown, since I have so many investors, so much more demand on the borrower side and the investor side, I'm excited to continue building out what we are funding, what investors want, and grow that number by a long shot.
That is amazing. I mean, that just the beginning number is insane. So really, congrats to you, Alexis. I'm curious, why did you pick Atlanta and fix and flips as the strategy to start, and then what are you thinking about next?
Yes, such good question. So when you're a private money lender, when you're considering funding a deal, there's a couple things that are really important. Number one, when you loan money, you have to think from the mindset of loan to own. Now, obviously, you want to lend to good people, you want to lend to good borrowers, your underwriting is the top priority. But at the end of the day, you have to know that if you have to take back this property, you are comfortable taking it back for the amount that you have loaned on it. And so Atlanta, Georgia is where I knew that market. I had a business partner in that market who, if we had to foreclose on something, we could easily take it back, sell it, and dispo it, right? And that was a number one priority, knowing the market. So that's one reason why Atlanta was a big value piece for me when I first got started. The second things, when you're a lender, the worst thing that can happen is someone doesn't pay you back, right? And so looking at the laws and how quickly you can take back property as a lender is really important. That's the process of foreclosure, favorable lending laws. Georgia has really friendly business law, which is why I don't lend in places like California or whatever, like all these other states. I stayed focused on this one place where I knew the market really well and where the laws were favorable. Just now I'm starting to look at other markets where I can have those same two priorities. Okay, I know this market really well, or have a partner in this market that knows it really well, and the lending laws, how fast it takes to foreclose, the usury, all those things are in my favor as the lender. That was a big priority for me when I got started, and there's so much opportunity in just that market. I can't imagine going to Virginia, Texas, North Carolina. We're going to naturally grow, and so that's super exciting.
I love that. I feel like you're growing a ton of market share within Atlanta, within Georgia, at least within the fractional community. I know for a fact that when people think about private money lending in Georgia, it's automatically, well, Alexis, like that's who we've got to do it with. So
I love it.
that is that is amazing. And then now to see you, apply the same formula to, new markets, new beginnings, I am so, so excited for you. And I want to segue a little bit into the capital raising side. I know before Fractional, you've also raised money,
Mhm.
and now you've done, I think, 5 deals on Fractional now, and we know there's another one that's coming in just a bit. Little teaser for everyone
Right.
listening. So, what brought you to Fractional? Why did you want to raise capital this way?
Oh my gosh, Fractional changed my life, honestly. Fractional, you guys have such a unique platform where you can bring investors together. And I think a big aspect of what I do is the community, right? It is the community, hand in hand community, and we're doing this project together. There's an educational aspect to it where people want to be hand in hand going into an exciting investment together. So that was one of the huge value pieces about Fractional. Like before, when I was raising money, I'm going to one to an investor, one to one, and that could be on a $500,000 raise. I could have several conversations before we actually hit that target. Fractional had my investors come together where I could make one presentation, answer questions. People could talk to each other. People could message their buddy and say, "Hey, I got in the deal. Are you getting in the deal? Or what are you doing? Why are you sitting on the sidelines?" I think that community aspect of it is really, really beautiful. That was the obvious value up front. Some of the things that I didn't expect was how Fractional helps with the raise. Like you guys obviously don't raise money for us, but you kind of guide the operator on here's what you need to be doing with your community. Here's some tips on how your presentation should go. The hand holding and the guidance from the team at Fractional was also really cool. And then after the deal's funded, you guys have a huge value piece on handling some of that paperwork. As the operator, I want to focus on bringing good deals, finding good deals, underwriting deals, and bringing things to the table in a way and communicating in a way that investors can understand. I don't necessarily want to focus on the K1s that happen, once a year or the LLC registration. And so having, Fractional there to take care of some of that heavy lifting, that administrative work that comes with the business was a huge piece as well. I mean, those are the three things that made it a no-brainer for me.
We're always here for the no-brainer. And Alexis, you are hands down, I think, one of the most successful cap raisers on the platform. I
Thank
know
you.
every single time you've crushed it. There's always so much energy. I think every single time I've joined one of your Zoom launches, there are over 100 people on there.
Yeah.
Everyone is like commenting. I love how you ask questions and tell people, comment a one in the chat if you get it, or whatever it is. And there's just so much engagement, so much energy, and I think it's just a true testament to, how much everyone, trusts and believes you and wants to partner with you. So I'm curious, like, why do you think, there is so much love in wanting to do business with you? Like, what is making you
Mm.
stand out?
Wow. I think it comes down to conviction and your heart. I think people truly feel that. And so if you are going on and raising money for your deal and it's about you, um, maybe you raise, but maybe you don't. And like you said on my Zooms, whether or not someone invests in my project is not as important to me. Obviously, we have a goal, we have an agenda, and that is the obvious objective. But in my Zooms, I am making sure this person understands. I'm educating them, and that passion for education, that conviction for their success, I think that shows up. I think that shows up, and I think that's why people on my Zooms and on my raises are fired up to do business with me because, the project that they invest in, they can feel that they understand that they're going to get a return on their investment, but they also feel that it's just the start. I've had tons of people who come in and invest, and then the next one they're investing again, and the next one they're investing again, and then they're asking, what are the other opportunities? What else can I do with you? It's really, really cool for me to see someone go from, I don't know anything about PML. They come to one of my Zooms, they pick up 3 pointers, they invest, and in a year, 6 months, 18 months later, they're raising on their own deal, right? They're doing their own raise. And that's just beautiful to me. And I think that abundance mindset, that heart and true passion for education, I think that's what helps me stand out. I'm not, I don't need, tons and tons more money. I could fund these deals myself or with my current network, but I truly have a passion for getting new people involved and getting new people exposed to the opportunity. So if there's anything that I would say to someone who's raising is like really clear your intentions, make sure you're showing up for your investors, that fiduciary responsibility, right? It's a part of our business. And if you can show that, if you can give that passion, with clarity, communicate with clarity, and keep people engaged. Hey, put a one in the chat if you're with me. Anybody have questions? That stuff shows up and it contributes to the raise for sure.
I love that. That is so beautiful. And I want to especially call out the part you talked about where people, have been continuously reinvesting, and there's even some superstars that now, raise their own capital. Like that
Yeah.
is truly such a beautiful moment of growth. And, in the startup world, we say that a product is successful when it's very sticky. And I think
Mm.
you've created that kind of, environment and process for a lot of early investors, right? Like traditionally, people would need 50K, 100 grand to get started. And, on top of just the financial inaccessibility, there's also a knowledge gap. So now it's like, well, the first step doesn't need to be so hard, right? Like, let's get
Yeah.
started with $10,000. Let's do it with Alexis, someone who knows what they're doing and can, support you, who's got your back, and we can do it together as a team. And then they see all of that, and then they make the money, and then all of a sudden they're at the edge of their seats, and they're like, when's the next one? We want to do this
Absolutely.
again, and they keep going bigger and bigger, right? And maybe, eventually they even get to the other side where, maybe one day they go from just an everyday investor to an accredited investor too, and now they're joining a fund or whatever it is, right? Like I think there's
Yes.
just it's just so wonderful, like seeing how, you can become someone that spearheads an investor's entire journey from how they
And
start.
you hit the nail on the head. Based on my experience in this industry, a lot of times it's not a financial gap. There's people everywhere with 10, 15, 50, 100, $150,000 sitting in their IRAs or their 401ks or their savings or HELOC. There's money everywhere. A lot of times it is that education. And if you're just presenting your deal and you're presenting your ROI and you're not educating, you're missing the boat, right? You're missing the boat. People invest and do business with people they know, like, and trust. And that last one, that trust factor, that gap can be bridged by educating them on how this opportunity makes sense, you know?
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I feel like, the know, like, and trust, there are so many layers to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, within the Sub2 community, within the lending world, I think you've, 200% build yourself up where everyone knows you, everyone is excited about you. How are you thinking about, expanding your network? What kind of efforts are you doing around that?
Yeah, this is a really exciting chapter for me. I'm leaving, what has been really comfortable, not leaving behind, but I'm growing and expanding. And I'm not leaving, though, my principles, the principles of education, the principles of passion. And so this next chapter for me is educating people on how there's more than just the fix and flip market. There's more deals that need funding than just the average single family house, and taking people through that education on here's how new development works, here's how construction draws work, here's how commercial works, and showing them the opportunity that's there. The reason why people invest is because they understand, they have clarity. And so providing that clarity as I move into these next new markets and new opportunities is something I'm really excited for. The reason I'm so pumped up is because I got that exposure myself. I got the exposure on how there's when you're doing a construction draw, you can get paid for the whole principal amount while it's still sitting in your bank account and you do each one in draws. I was like, oh my God. Commercial, for example, you can force appreciation. No longer are you dependent on your neighbor Sally and your neighbor Joe to sell, hopefully for the price you want. You can make the property worth exactly what you want it to be worth. And so as I expand into these new opportunities and these new funding opportunities, educating the audience is something I'm so excited for. And from there, it'll be up to them to see the writing on the wall, see the opportunity that's there.
I love that. And when you are going out into these new markets, how are you finding clarity for yourself? I feel like, it's for us as entrepreneurs, right? I feel like it's always so exciting when there's a new challenge. There's a lot of
Yes.
unforeseen and we're just, navigating as we go and that's what keeps us going. But how do you exactly know, I've hit it or, maybe this is a no, but that's good enough for me to learn, take that and learn the next thing? Like how are you getting that clarity for yourself?
Such a good question. I'm 21 years old, and the past 2 years I have done what feels like should have been done in 10 years. But the reason I've been able to condense it is always because of mentors. It's always because of community. Even my experience in the single family lending space, I was right next to a guy who had 40 years experience in real estate, single family. And so as I move into these new opportunities, it is always for me about relationships, about insight. And if I can pay someone, for example, I buy into courses and mentorships all the time. If I can pay someone or work with someone who can provide that decades of experience so that I can quickly learn and get the insights I need to make good decisions, I always, always, always do that. I have this saying, you are going to pay, but you either pay in time or in money, and only one of those you can never get back. So I am more than happy. I am more than happy always to take a haircut on what I'm making or come out of pocket and invest in my knowledge to learn. And so as I go into these new markets, whether it be North Carolina or Texas or Virginia, these are all places where I've done deals now. I'm always getting insight from someone who's local there, whether I go into new development or commercial. These are all places where I'm doing deals now. I'm always investing in myself and my knowledge there. Stealing the homework is what I call it. Someone's already done this. Why would I try to be a knucklehead and figure it out myself? I'm going to steal the homework and pay for the homework more often than not. And figure out, okay, what should I be aware of? Where are the red flags here? Where are the green flags here? And through that process, through that mindset, I've been able to learn really, really quickly what to do and what not to do. And my whole philosophy is I'm going to pass that knowledge on specifically to my investors.
Wow, I love that. I feel like you just dropped five golden phrases right there. That is 100%, just how anyone should think about things and
Yes.
take action, right? I feel like it all always just goes back to how I feel like you are someone that is never afraid to execute. It's like you just got to do the thing and then see how it plays out and then use that to strategically make your next moves, which is, I feel like it's just so incredible how you've been able to, really take this accelerated journey where you're going from, one stepping stone to the next and, you're creating a whole rocket ship for yourself. It is just so beautiful to see.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stella. I mean, I don't take credit. I think a smart person will learn from their mistakes, and I certainly have made mistakes and I've learned from them. But a really, really wise person is going to learn from the mistakes of others. So I'm constantly watching mentors, I'm constantly watching anyone who's taking action. And if there's insights, if there's lessons that they're sharing, I'm not turning away. I'm not turning the other cheek. Like I'm listening. I'm very humble in that way where I'm always going to be a student, and therefore I always am learning things and I always have things to share. So it is exciting. I'm super excited, and there's lots of opportunity, like I said, in the business. But I appreciate all the kind words.
Well, tell us what's coming next. We both know that, there's something that you're going to be launching soon. So
Right?
tell everyone who's listening what is coming up next for you right now.
Yes, 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 yes. So, like Stella said, I've raised over $1 million on the fractional platform, but truth be told, we're just getting started. And so on August 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be launching an investment club where now investors can come in, get access priority access to the opportunities, these new opportunities that I'm talking about. There's going to be some bread and butter, some plain vanilla, but there's also going to be some vanilla with a twist, some fun loans that we're doing together. So on August 7th, I'm going to be showing everyone, here's what we're looking at. Here's the opportunity on the whiteboard. Let's go and chase down these deals. Let's go and fund these deals. And most importantly, let's do it together. So it'll probably be about an hour-long Zoom where I go through, here's the opportunity that we're looking at. Here are the types of deals that we're going to be funding, all falling under some of the umbrellas that I talked about today. Some single-family fix and flip, some new development, some commercial. And so I'm going to break down and educate. Look at what is here. Look at the opportunity that's here. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you look at the Zoom registration and mark your calendars for August 7th at 7 p.m.
Amazing. I am so stoked for it. As a current investor, I know a bunch of people in the community are super excited for it as well. And I think, the investment club is really going to be the new way that we're going to scale as a community, right? Instead of raising money, going after deals one at a time, it's like, well, we already know what we're doing. We know what the criteria is. We know what we want to look for. Let's just, focus on speed, right? Speed is the name of the game. Like, let's pour our capital together first. Now we're all part of the dream team. And then it's all about then finding the right opportunities and then just saying yes on the ones that make sense and moving forward from there. So I am so stoked for it. We're going to absolutely crush it again. Do you have a name already for what you're going to call the club?
I've been meditating. I want it to come to me. I think I have to do a little bit more soul searching to figure out exactly what I want to call it. And maybe you guys who are watching, comment below, like what would get someone excited. I want it to be special, and so I haven't been hasty on naming it. For now, we'll call it the Investment Club, but on August 7th, we'll have something really cool and fancy rolled out, so don't miss it.
We'll make it a democratic vote as well.
Yes. That's just like Fractional. We're very democratic. We want everyone to be a part of it, so I love that. It's a good perspective.
Amazing. Well, I want to wrap it up with one last question, Alexis. Do you feel like where you're at today is, what you would have imagined it to be maybe 5 years ago?
Geez, 5 years ago, I was 16 years old. And if you would have told me that this is what I'm doing today, raising tens of millions of dollars, funding real estate projects, creating strong returns for investors, making lots of money, I would have never believed you. I would have never believed you. It's been so much more than anything I could have ever imagined. It's been an incredible journey. So many things have happened for me that have been so beautiful. The right person at the right time. I was ready for the information. I got exposed to the right information. It's been an incredible journey. I'm so grateful to God for everything that's happened so far in my life. And I can't help but say again, like, this is the beginning. I've been in this industry for 3 years, and I'm not giving up. I'm not a quitter. I'm someone who takes action, who learns and takes action. So I'm really pumped for the next 10 years, the next 15 years. And I'm grateful that Fractional has been a part of my journey since the start. We're going to do a lot of cool things together.
Amazing. Well, I am so humbled and honored to be a part of the journey. And, I say that all of us are lucky, but at the same time, I think only the prepared get very lucky. And that's certainly what's happened to you. So whatever you're imagining for what's going to come up for the next 5 years, just know that it will probably be 100x of what you're thinking today. I know you're absolutely going to crush it. I'm so glad that, we get to be a part of it. Everyone at Fractional gets to ride along with you. Like, that is so magical. So let's wrap it up. Where can people find you? You've shared so many gems. I'm sure more people want to follow along, be involved in whatever you're doing next. So tell us where we can, stick along for the ride.
Yes, I'm on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Alexis Morgan Invests. So that if you guys want to follow along, you want to hear the announcements, feel free to shoot me a DM, follow me, subscribe, all the things, all platforms, Alexis Morgan Invests.
Amazing. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for coming on. It's always so good to catch up. It's always good,
Yes.
so good to just talk about, the past, present, and future. And August 7th, right? We'll see everyone together on another Zoom. Talk to you
Awesome.
later. Yep.
Bye.